Guys, can I ask you all if you would just move up a little bit closer toward the front so that Alexis will be able to both hear you and see you as well. For those who are just coming in the back. Thank you so much.
Like sit in the back of the class syndrome.
No, para una hora.
Very quiet in here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Do that. I haven't heard about that. Great.
Can you hear us already, Alexis?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
We gotta turn it up. She on the air. She is. Okay, it should be good.
Give it just a couple more minutes.
Wow, I'm like on the big screen in the back there.
I know it's kind of nerve wracking, isn't it? When I'm on it, I'm like watching myself and it's delayed. It feels very awkward. What's that say?
It's apparently trying to kick us out of the Zoom.
No, that's when, because of the different Zoom we all log in on the same page.
Oh.
Before.
Perfect. Okay, we should be good. I might change the sound over.
Alexis, they're realtors, so they're gonna roll in late. You know how we do.
Everyone's early.
I don't know, it kind of depends on if you're offering food or drink.
I know, we should have offered some food. That'll get them.
That's for the
That's fine.
sound bar if you need to turn it up.
Okay. You got candy. Is that just the left, right arrows at the bottom?
Justin Boyd looks like a cool dude.
Yeah, where is Justin?
I see you.
There, I'll be one of those late realtors, but I was in a listing appointment, so I have an excuse.
Did you get it?
She has somebody coming at 2:00 that she feels obligated to have an appointment with, but we're going to sign paperwork later today.
Woo! Good for you. That's good.
All right, can I turn this
Justin,
down
how long have you been?
at the bottom?
I got in 2013.
Oh, so you're not a newbie.
No, he's an
No,
OG.
not at all.
You're like a senior citizen like me now. I love when I go on listing appointments and people ask me like, how long have you been doing this? As if I've been doing it for like, I don't know, as if I'm in like my 20s.
Right.
I'm like 17 years. They just look at me and you can see them trying to do the math.
Cool. Well, let's try and be timely on that. You good? Y'all ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Alexis, hey, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
So Alexis, we did a little bit about who you were, but we didn't want to give you the big head initially. But now that we've got people in the room, I'd love for you to share a little bit about what your team looks like, where you're at, and then I'll kind of put some icing on it at the end.
Okay, I'll give myself about 2 minutes if that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and I am also a MAPS coach. I rewrote the course, The Mega Listing Agent, and we actually launched this Monday. So at the very beginning. So if you guys like anything that I have to say, please sign up. We go really deep on all things listings, where to find them, what to say to them, how to close them, etc. So my passion is scripts and listings in real estate. I have had my license for 17 years. I joined Keller Williams about 10 years ago, and that's when my career really started. And I got a MAPS coach my first year, and then my career took off. So this year we did just over 80 million in real estate. We are in San Antonio. I don't know what y'all's average price point is, but in our city it's around 220,000. So it's not very high. So I do focus on the luxury, like just more luxury price points in San Antonio, which is like our average price point is still only a whopping $425. So we helped about 200 families make a move last year, and that was with 3 agents plus myself, 2 contract to close girls, and we brought an ISA on 6 months into it. So we don't have a big team, in my opinion, and I feel like we still do a lot of business. So that's a little about my business side. I am a mom of 3 kids. We've got boy, girl, 10, 8, and my little girl just turned 4. So I am very much like, I'm all about work-life balance. So we teach a lot of that in the courses because people go, well, how are you a mom? And then my husband doesn't have anything to do with my business. He's full-time as well. So just a lot of stuff going on. And I wanted to also say, I know COVID's been crazy for all of us. It was really crazy for me too, because I love to cycle, and my husband and I were on a training ride, and I was drafting, and I clipped his back tire for the first time in like 17 years of riding with him. And it threw me to the pavement, and I passed out. I had shattered my pelvis, and they rushed me to the emergency room, did an emergency surgery on me. And so I actually coded and flatlined in the hospital. And I was there for a week, and then I came home and I was in a wheelchair for 3 months. So, and it was still by far our biggest year yet. So I promise you, if I can hit the numbers I hit with a small team during COVID in a wheelchair with 3 small kids and still keep my marriage really strong and my sanity, I promise you guys I can teach you a couple things. So that's my goal today.
Alexis, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. So you come across people in your world, like as agents and as people, we come across people in our world that we kind of lock onto and we're like, wow, there's something special about that person. So I'm a cyclist, right? Alexis and I had the same coach for many, many years. And I was always being teased, well, Alexis, look at her cup. You see her cup? Show the cup. Great at branding, marketing herself, marketing her value proposition to her clients. And one of the things that I really loved is that kind of, for me, I started to see her as like on a different level with the branding and all that stuff. And when she hit the deck, cycling, shattered pelvis, is a mom, she was hard as nails. And the amount of respect that I have for you with the mindset that you had around that rocked my world. Because I watched her, she couldn't walk. She was in a wheelchair, and I watched her step by step attack this. And I just want to say to you, Alexis, like it was really inspiring for me to see a coworker and somebody I would consider a real estate partner, even though we've never done a deal, to see you move forward like that. So
Oh.
it was huge.
Well, thank you. That's
Yeah.
sweet.
So do you want to add anything to that, or you want to rock and roll with the?
No, that's all I got.
Cool. So I appreciate everybody being here. As I said, Alexis is iconic in the way she handles her clients and her listings and her business. So one of the things I thought we'd start with, Alexis, is if you could share with us kind of how you identify target markets or clients and what your process looks like. How you navigate that, because I think we all like, how do we get more clients and how do we build relationships and value propositions? So I'd love to hear what you would add to that, what you would say.
So I took Bold 7 times, and they're all about, 100 contacts a day, and I love it. There's a lot of great things I learned from Bold, but I also learned I did not want to be on the phones. I don't care who I was calling that much. And it was really hard to build an ISA department. So when you read the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent that Gary Keller wrote, he says to be prospecting and marketing based. And so I decided to give my first shot at marketing, because what was most important to me was time, right? Time with my kids, time with my husband, time to myself. So I started farming, and it was the very first listing that I got. And I did an open house for the neighborhood. I did a open house, a private one for the agents. Like, I ended up holding 3 open houses. And I remember I still get listings, y'all, from the marketing I did around this one open house. And I had 2 boys at the time and a double bob stroller. And it was a walkable neighborhood. So I just went and I walked the neighborhood in like my workout gear, and I handed out flyers. It was like, I marketed it as a private open house for the neighborhood. And I ended up getting another listing off that, right? So the number one thing I did was I decided to start targeting a higher price point that was close to where I lived. For several reasons, right? Like, I wanted a higher price point and I wanted the convenience, and it was a small neighborhood that no one else had top market share in. So that's where I started. And Justin, kind of like you, that first appointment, I went up against 3 other agents, and I felt very out of my element, because this was my first $1 million listing. I had never had a $1 million listing or anything close to it. And I think I had this, I don't know if I had the same Jeannie as a coach or not, but my coach said, I just got this feeling that, like, I walked away, I didn't have a signed agreement, and I didn't think they were going to hire me. She goes, go back, turn your car around, go back. So I did. And I knocked on the door, and I ended up asking for the business again. And I just said, please, like, just try, like, I don't even know. Whatever I did, it worked, because I got a signed listing agreement. So if you wanted to find a target market, number one, look at the location, right? Where do you want to do business? And I'm going to say, what better place than around your house? And if you don't like the price point of where you live, pick somewhere close. Make sure, and it's okay if someone else has top market share, but it's even better if you guys have the opportunity where someone's not already farming them really hard. And then if you don't have a listing in that area, use someone else's listing and just go hold your open house, door knock, and get people's emails and then get them on a drip campaign, right? Say like, hey, several of your neighbors have asked to be on my neighborhood update e-alert. I'm happy to put you on it as well. What's the best email address for you? So that's what I did to get started.
Your door knock script, is that what you're communicating when you go to the door? Or do you have something else that you like? What's your go-to?
No, I just say, well, we door knock them when we're in the open house, and we just say like, hey, I'm sure you know by now, but we just listed your neighbor's house at blah, blah, blah. So we're just curious if you have anyone that is looking at moving into the neighborhood that we could reach out and invite. And then whatever your like friendly intro is, right? You're leaving something with your face, your marketing, your contact information, even if it's not your listing. You invite them, but get their email and be able to follow up with them. Right? Because now these people are constantly getting whatever your marketing plan looks like.
That's great. So I hope you all heard that, because it's huge. You don't have to have the listing.
Mm-hmm.
So reach out, find your top agents. Hey, are there any top agents in here that would not like more marketing toward their listing? No. So pick up the phone, call the agents and say, hey, can I market this listing for you? Nobody says no.
Yeah, and in full disclosure, we're trying to hire more agents, but I only have 3. And so we have more listings go live every week than we have enough agents to do open houses. And so I've got 4 or 5 agents that are our go-tos for open houses. And I mean, it's kind of my bad, lost opportunity, but these agents are holding these open houses and they're getting a ton of business, right? That's missed opportunity if I had agents to go do it, but they're not even part of our team and they're taking the leads from it.
That's right. That's worth its weight in gold right there. That's good. All right, so we farm the neighborhood and we've got, so you're knocking, right? You're getting relationships going, you got a drip campaign or whatever marketing you're doing.
Yep. So we do postcards as well. I do under contracts and I do just solds now. And I would say as easy as you can make that on yourself, that's what you do, whether that's command or a company that has a relationship with your market center or in the area. And I've been now sending out postcards for probably 8 years, and we now are #1 in market share. And we use every door direct marketing, so that we go to like the closest 500 houses in the neighborhood. And I know Command has that ability as well.
Every door direct marketing.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And I think you're the #1 team in San Antonio. Is that right?
Do what?
Are you the #1 team in San Antonio? Did I see that?
Yes. Well, so there's large team and there's small team. And so for small team, which is 4 agents or less, yes, we are the #1 team.
That's awesome. Okay, so you're creating collateral, you're sending it to the people in the homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing this. What's your timeline on this? How often are you doing it? Where does the company recommend that for you?
No, so we have everything internal that we do. So we just have a template that we have, and then I have virtual assistants. And so they will pop the photo in, and I'm gonna see if I have any. And
I'm pushing you because it's so good. I've seen your stuff and I'm like, it's good. You have to be in the mindset that you're in that price point to present and speak the same language as the people in that price point, and your stuff comes across so well. That's why I'm asking more details.
Thanks. So yeah, it just says like our tagline is Alexis did it again. I totally stole that from someone at Keller Williams. It's cheesy, but it works. And so I have Alexis did it again on everything. And then we have, whether it's the big one is the under contract or the just sold. And then it has the address, you turn it over, and we have a lead capture, the phone number for them to call in for a private consult. But the goal is just once we take the listing on live online, if they're at all, right? Like let's say let's just call it the open house. They see everything online or they don't. And then for the neighbors who don't see it, you are putting, I would say, put 15 to 20 signs up. But if you can put your face or your logo on them, your face to me is even better. But the day of the open house, put a bunch of signs up. We do our open houses on Friday from 2 to 5. And then you door knock, right? 10 across the street, 5 and 5. So it's a total of 20. And you're getting emails from as many people as you can. You're holding the open house, and then you pick your signs up. And then if it's your listing, obviously you're sending out you can do just listed. We just stopped doing those because we had so many. So we do under contract and just sold. So the idea is that the listings right around your listing literally get so many reminders, and they see your face so much that when they're thinking about selling, they can only think of you.
So talk to me about Friday 2 to 5. So that's a non-traditional open house time in my world. So why do you do 2 to 5 on Friday?
Transparently, because that's when my agents will do it. They're too busy to do it on the weekends. And it was just more of looking at our schedule and us dialing backwards and going, okay, what works best? And then I thought it was a good time because that's when we have a lot of stay-at-home moms in the area. And so that's when they go pick their kids up at 3, right? So if when they go to pick their kids up, they see the signs. When they come they come back home, they see the signs again. If anyone's going to get off work early, it's usually on a Friday. So we tailored it both around what works well for our agent schedules for consistency. And then also part of it is the low inventory, right? So we say to our sellers that we do a listing launch. That's part of our marketing strategy. So we get approval from them on everything in MLS on Wednesday. We push them live on Thursday. We block all showings, but we push them live at 4 p.m. So then it hits clients' accounts, right? They can pick up the phone, call their agent. And then Friday's their big showing day. So if we know that the majority of the showings can overlap on Friday, if I have an agent in there from 2 to 5, that's high traffic.
Yep. That's great. So you're creating overlaps, you're creating urgency, you're hitting them, you know your market. You've got lots of moms there, you know the time period. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so talk to me about the open house and like what that looks like. So you're driving them to this open house?
Well, my agents are the ones doing the open houses. So they just put up 15 signs. So we look at an aerial map and then we'll kind of draw it out so that they know if there's any like big streets coming in, but they put the signage up because the signage is the number one thing that brings our traffic. We put it on realtor.com. We put it on Zillow, right? We do all the online marketing, and we have found that the best traffic comes from the most signage. And I can't tell you how many listings we've picked up because people will see a bajillion signs. And for the record, we can't put signs out. Like, don't let that stop y'all because it's only 3 hours. So I'll get calls from like the local police or whatever. They're like,
Right.
you need to pick your signs up. We're like, okay, great. We're going to pick them up right now because by that time, like they'll be picked up by 5.
Right.
So I would just ask, like, just do it, guys. It's fine. It's 3 hours. And you're going to get so much business from it. But I just wanted to be clear, like nobody get on here and be like, I can't put up signs because for the last 10 years, I haven't been able to either. So you put your signs out, that's what gives you your traffic. And guys are chasing the listing, right? The whole reason is like, so I just focus on listings. And the reason for that is because we get to control the area that we work in. It's you get to control your time better, right? So if you can just pick up one listing for every listing that you have, how much easier would your life be? Because we all know that our buyers come from our listings, right?
Yeah.
And so your goal of your open house is, yes, if you have a buyer that comes in that's not represented, amazing. Yet what we're really chasing is market share for listings. So we want those neighbors to call us. And I'm going to give you an example that's going on right now. I door knocked a listing, I don't even know how long ago. That neighbor just called like 2 months ago and said, you sold my neighbor's house. We want to interview you. I got that listing. So the listing, there's a street that you have to drive through, right? There's 2 streets. I got this listing from an open house. I got this listing from the open house. And then the street that's back here that has to pass these 2 signs every day. I now have 4 listings on that one street.
Wow.
All of that started from an open house, door knocking, and the number one reason these people are calling me and I get a chance at their table, because they're all interviewing multiple agents, is they go, we literally see your face everywhere. Y'all, my face is not everywhere. It's just everywhere on their street. But if y'all could do one thing really, really well, is I would say get a sign with your face on it, right? It's not expensive. They're like the cheap little open house signs. Because even if you don't have your own inventory, you can go do the marketing. And who doesn't want, like when those sellers are knocking on their door and you give them your flyer and they see your sign and you're getting their email and now you're following up with them, that's the hustler that they want to hire. That's the person they're going to remember, not just who had the for sale sign in the yard.
I love it. So you're actually like applying to be a listing agent for the homes around it by showing them how you treat a listing, right? So literally it's like your job application is the way you're performing on the listing you currently have.
100%. Yeah.
You don't have to sell it, you can show it, right? That's cool. Okay, so what next?
Well, we've kind of talked about like farming. Why don't we talk about maybe like pre-listing? Because if you guys go execute this, I promise you, you will get leads. And if someone goes, well, what if someone comes to open house and like, I'm the neighbor, because your nosy neighbors are always the ones we want to be having a conversation with. Well, we've been thinking about selling, and you say, great. Now what do you do? Right? Like, how do you set yourself up to go get a signed listing agreement, especially in today's market with, let's say that's even a phone call that you're getting and you're working phone duty. Every appointment I'm going on, I'm going up against 2, 3, 4, 5 other agents. Are y'all experiencing the same thing?
The listing inventory is incredibly low. So yeah, it's highly competitive.
Yeah. So I don't know, we can talk about like the pre-qual if you want, or what the pre-list process looks like. Which one?
Let's do that. I was listening to a podcast this morning. Kay Evans was saying, like, if somebody calls and says, can you come to my house for a listing, and you have it prepped before you even got that call, you're too late. So this is a great time to talk about what's our process for that, for the systems around it, what's the collateral we need to show up with. So give your thoughts.
So I was like, we could do a role play, or I could just roll through it. Let me just roll through what our pre-qual sounds like, and then you guys let me know if that's helpful, if you want me to go any deeper.
I'll role play with you if that's easier, or unless you don't want to.
Probably not.
Okay, good.
You might be a little wordy in your answers. Okay, so let's say that someone calls in and you've identified on the phone that they are thinking about selling, right? Or let's say, like it's what we call like a come list me. So the first thing we do, and I want you guys to write this down, get their contact information. Great. Hey, just in case we get disconnected, can I get your first and last name? Right? And he's gonna go, Jeff Stewart. Awesome. So Jeff, I see. And then we have a VoIP, so we don't have the number they're calling on. So what's the best number to reach you at? And guys, let me ask you this. A lot of times these people, well, let me just say, they're calling in, asking the price for a listing, right? They're a buyer lead. So on those, you can even say, hey, as I pull the listing up, I can send you the details as soon as we get off. What's the best email to reach you at? That's a great way to get email right off the bat. Because as soon as we're done with the call, I'll send you all the details via email. So you get their contact information, and then you're going to write this down on your paper. I want you to write LTP Mama, LTP MAMA. Okay, that's an acronym. And first we're going to get location, right? Because this is a come list me or someone you've identified. Great. So what's the property that you're calling about? And an LTP Mama can go for a buyer side or a listing side, but we're going to focus on listing right now. And so they're going to go, oh, I'm calling on 123 Main Street. Awesome. Okay, so what's next? Timeline. So by when do you guys want to have made a move? Well, I don't know. Or a lot of times, like right now, it's like, well, my husband just got relocated. We're really wanting to have the house, you know, like on the market or have it sold by, you know, within the next 4 weeks. That immediately gives you how quickly you want to move, right? Like that's going to be different if it's 6 months out or if it's 2 or 4 weeks out. So now you've got timeline, and you can go deeper on that and go, okay, great. So by when do you want to have your, by when do you want to have your house on the market? By when do you want to be closed and funded? That's a gateway in as well onto where they're moving next. So then we go into LTP. Out of curiosity, on the listing side, what do you think top dollar is for your house in today's market? Out of curiosity, what do you think top dollar is for your house in today's market? And they're going to go, if they're a grumpy old man, well, I don't know. That's what I'm hiring you for. You're the realtor. And you say, absolutely. And I'm going to do about 2 to 3 hours of preparation, and I'm going to come with a full market analysis. But just based on the research that you've done and everything that you know, what do you think if you had to guess your house would sell for?
Yeah.
Okay. You do not go into a listing appointment without knowing their perspective. Because in today's market, you just want to get a signed listing agreement. That house will sell, right? Or you may be one price reduction from it selling, but you want that listing agreement, and you cannot go in against competition and not know what they think their house will sell for.
Yep.
So if you don't get the question answered, then you're going to rip back to it later. You're not going to get off the phone, promise me, unless you get that question answered. Because if you do everything else right and you give a price lower than the seller wants to hear, you've lost it. Can we agree on that? Say yes, because I've lost it several times. Okay, so you've got location, timeline, price. That's really, I'm concerned with their perspective. I can do a market analysis. I don't need to know what it will, just their perspective. And then we've got motivation. So out of curiosity, what does this move do for you guys? Is this a good move, right? Because if they're getting a divorce or someone's lost their job, you need to change your energy, right? You're not going to be like, woo, all the high eyes in the room, like, oh, I'm so excited to work with you. Like, just motivation's going to give you the ability to know where you're meeting your client. We want to meet them where they are. Okay, so we talk about, we just get motivation, you know, on the buy side, it's like what's bringing you to the area. And then normally, like if they're making a local move, you're going to say, you also want the buy side, right? So you're going to go, you can dive into motivation about where they're going. Right? Or do they need to have the equity out of the existing house to go purchase the next house? Have they been looking online at other houses or in person? So once we have motivation, then what do we go to? LTPMA, agent. Are you interviewing multiple agents for the job to sell your house? Y'all write that down. Are you interviewing multiple agents for the job to sell your house? You need to know if you have competition, and if they say, yes, we're actually interviewing 3 more agents, then I go, phenomenal, great. So by when do you want to make a decision by? That question is going to set up, that's going to set when you schedule your appointment. By when do you want to make a decision by? And if they say, well, by this Friday, I'm going to go, awesome. So have you already set these appointments up, or where are you at with setting these appointments up? Well, we've scheduled one, you're our second call, we have 2 more. And I go, great. So it looks like, I'm looking at my calendar now, I have a 3 p.m. on Friday. Does that work well for both you and your wife? Okay, already I'm setting myself up to try and be last, or at least like, I don't want to be first. Right? Because who's the cute guy that was on, the stud with the glasses? I trust that you're going to get that listing appointment signed. However, if you could have gone after that other lady, no doubt you could have closed on that, right, in the house, right? So that's a really good question for you guys to ask, is by when do you want to make a decision by? And then all of my listing appointments, they're at 1:30 or 3:30. And if I have to take a 5:30, I will.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, okay. So agents, know who your competition is. And then mortgage, right? Like, do they have a payoff? What's their financial situation? If you haven't gotten clarity on where they're going, you know, if they need the equity of their house to buy, get it there. And then you're going to close for the appointment. Amazing. I'm so looking forward to meeting with you and your wife, right? If you haven't closed for the appointment, I have a 3:30 on Friday. Does that work well? Then we're going to roll into expectations, which is our pre-list process. So let me just stop there and see if you guys have any questions on what we just went over.
Any questions about that? Ahas?
Other question.
Yeah.
You, like, my mindset is, you think that they'll already close with the agent by the time you get to them? So if they're interviewing four, you're the fourth, you fear by going last, they were like someone else would close with them already.
All right. Did you hear that?
I think so. I have lost an appointment before. I can only think of 2 where I went too late. Someone closed before I got to the table. And that person, both of them were interviewing like 5 or 6 agents. But there have been, for those 2, several that I was able to close. And what's the reason is you're going to assume that these are high S or high C personalities. And it doesn't matter how great I show up. If someone that's a high S or a high C, like, and you can ask them, you can go, hey, what kind of, what kind of decision maker are you? Do you just kind of know when you make a decision, or do you like to take the night or like take some time and think things over? And if they say they want to take some time to think things over, it doesn't matter how great you are. If you're the number 1 and they want to go meet with 3 to feel like they've done their due diligence, you're not going to get it signed. Right? And so you have less than a 10% chance of converting that listing appointment to a signed agreement if you walk out the door without a signed listing agreement. Not saying it's possible, but it's a very low chance if there's agents going after you.
I love that. It's so interesting. You're a better listing agent than I am, but I always try and get there first before the other people and close them. So to hear your perspective on going last is really interesting. I love it.
So my average clientele is also a retirement age. We work with a lot of, we're getting to work with some younger people now too, but that may play a part. But yeah, there are several times where I've met with someone and they're like, well, we have 2 more agents. Gosh, y'all had that great agent that was on earlier, right? And they're like, well, we've already told so-and-so, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. We've already committed. And then at that point, even if it's not a strong listing agent, they can come in and promise a higher price. Like, how many times has that happened? It's unrealistic, but they go with someone who thought they could who told them they could sell their house for higher, or they can cut commission, right? There's so many things that they can do that you're like, wait, I lost because of this, but you lose the ability to handle the objection.
That's great.
If you go last, I don't lose the ability to handle the objection. And if they're interviewing 3 other agents, I go, here's the deal. I know you're going to have several interviews this week and we're set up for Friday. Can you promise me one thing? Can you just promise me not to sign a listing agreement? I am so excited to meet with you guys. I'm going to spend about 3 to 4 hours preparing for our appointment before I get to your house. And this is where I'm just going to roll in. When you set these expectations, they will not cancel on you and they will not sign with someone else. If you fail to set these expectations, they very well may. So I'm going to go, we really pride ourselves on communication, right? The conversation is the relationship. So we're going to prove to you before we even get out to your house that we communicate at a really high level. So here's what you can expect from us. We're going to send you a quick email and it's just going to have about a 2-minute video on it. If you could watch that, you and your wife both, that's going to help save you time and money before we show up to the appointment. Can you guys both commit to just watching a quick 2-minute video for me? Yeah, sure. Great. So now at this point, I can ask for the wife's email. Perfect. Tell me your wife's name and what's the best email to reach her at. And then what's her best cell phone? Because how many times do we kind of get people like, no, I'm the point of contact. No, you don't need to get my spouse's information. So at the very end, when you set expectations, that's how you get it. So now you send the pre-list video to them both after the call. And then I'm going to say, and here's the deal. It's really important that we meet with both decision makers. So we're going to send you guys both a calendar invite. If you can go ahead and accept that, that would be awesome. That just means we did get it's a confirmation for us that we got your emails correct. So now they're getting an email with a calendar invite that has the 3 goals of our appointment, has the location, has listing consultation with Alexis Wiegand Real Estate Group. And I'm going to go last. We're going to send you just a friendly text reminder the morning of. Like I said, it's really important that we meet with both decision makers. So for some reason, something comes up and one of you can't make it, if you could just kindly reach out to us and let us know. That way we can reschedule it for a time that works for the both of you. Any questions for us? Nope. If you want, you can also ask, hey, just before we hang up real quick, what are the 3 most important things to you for hiring the right agent for the job to sell your house? Okay, and those 3 things, guys, we're going to trial close with, because that's like, write that down. That's like I don't even know what's a fun, that's the icing on the cake. So when you go into the listing appointment, right before you ask them to sign with you, you're going to say, when the energy is really awesome, you're going to go, all right, so let's say they said communication, neighborhood expert, proven track record of success. You're going to go, all right. Like Mr. Seller, you told me you wanted to hire, the 3 most important things to you were someone who was great at communication. Have we proven to you that we're amazing at communication? Get them to say yes. Yes. Have we proven to you that we are a neighborhood expert in your neighborhood? They say yes. Mr. Stewart, have we proven to you that we have a great track record of success?
Yes.
Great. Are you ready to hire me?
Yes.
And that's the 4th yes, right? Are you ready to let me go to work for you? Ready to partner with me in helping you get top dollar in today's market, right? Whatever that is, it's yes, yes, yes. Ready to hire me. So that's how you're going to get them to say yes. That is a full prequal. And if you don't do anything between the time that you set the appointment and you show up to their house, that's okay. Start doing at least one, right? We call that, so in my course, we teach the ultimate pre-list process, and we give you all of the scripts. And I always say, if you don't have one, define what you want yours to be. And if you already do have a process, what can you do to refine what you have right now? That's a lot of talking. What questions or ahas do y'all have?
So good. So good. So understanding their perspective, setting expectations. That was a crafty way to get the emails and the phone numbers of both people. Then you're getting into the conversation with what 3 things are most important to you, so you can put a bow on it at the end after your presentation. That's good. Questions?
Did she send you her pre-listing video?
Oh yeah, I was curious about the video also. What are you doing in the video?
Y'all, it's nothing special. It's like with my phone. And I kind of feel like the more relatable you are, the better these days. And so I just say, gosh, what do I say? I'm like, hey guys, by now you've chosen to meet with us about listing your house. We're super grateful. We're really excited. I used to give all of our credentials, because I didn't, and I'm going to say I want to go over this now so we can focus on you when we get to your listing or when we get to your house. I don't do that anymore. I just say hey, if you have a copy of your appraisal, because sometimes the appraisal will have a higher square footage than the appraisal district or the last MLS, right? And we always want the highest square footage. If they've had an inspection report in the last 4 years, if they've had any upgrades that they've done to the house, right, that they want me to know about. I think we ask if they have a survey on file, and then what their payoff is. And I will tell you, more than anything, it gives you insight to their personality, right? So what kind of personality am I meeting with when I show up and they literally have all 5 things waiting there, stacked this high, and they've been in the house for 30 years and they have all of it.
I see.
Yeah, I am meeting a high C who has a crazy amount of attention to detail. So I'm going to tell them, thank you guys so much for this, whatever. And if they're like, oh no, sorry, I saw your email, but I didn't get a chance to look at it or read it, I'm probably meeting with a high D. So I can't tell you that it really does anything for us. It's just an excuse to communicate with them before the appointment and have them feel like we're professional, which we are, but have them give them some homework to have them show up at a high level to the appointment.
So I'll often say that you're fleshing out the appointment. So you're literally, instead of a name that sets an appointment, and you can cancel on an appointment if you're not related to that person in like emotion or expectation. So her videos are tying you to that. That's a person. And she sent me that message, and it helps with the stickiness of them holding that appointment. That's great.
Yeah, guys, there's nothing. So I am a high DI personality, and there's nothing that makes me more mad than if I have done the preparation for an appointment and they cancel. Like, I mean, if you have 3 kids, my kids' age, like you just know, like there's always something to do, or somewhere to be. So I went at this building a process of stickiness with keeping the appointment.
Yep.
Which is why we say we spend 3 to 4 hours preparing for your appointment, right? If for any reason one of you can't be present, please let us know. We email them, we calendar invite them, and we group text them the morning of as a friendly reminder of their listing appointment at 3 p.m. this afternoon with Alexis Wagon Real Estate Group, right? If I've touched them 3 times in 3 different ways, my conversion of appointment set to appointment gone on goes up. If I do no communication, right, and someone else is, and let's say that example that your agent just asked, and they've already met with 3 agents, they're not going to have much guilt for canceling on me.
That's great. So many will set an appointment and then like spike the football and just show up at the time. But that's professionalism. That's questions. More questions?
Well, I have a question on Zoom. Hey Alexis, one of the questions that I have is about like for your older like customers that you had, because you mentioned that you have a lot of retirees. How do you adjust technology for them from like that pre-listing video to as well as like Google Calendar for like those older clients that you have?
Oh, our sweet older clientele. So don't underestimate them. They actually, for the majority of them, they actually do have email. But the reality is we don't adjust anything. There's nothing. I think the only thing I adjust is how I dress that day to show up to the appointment.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, if they don't open the emails or they don't check their emails because it's a sweet, older lady, okay, but that's going to be like 1 out of 200, right? I think our goal was just to we're only as good as our systems and our processes, not our goals. And so when I could count on the system and always getting done by creating like the right process, that was my goal, that whether it was me doing it or I was in the office or out of the office, it was just the same thing before every single listing appointment.
We had one more. All right, somewhere. Was it in here?
She gets answered.
Oh, she did. Okay.
I'm curious how she's handling the client that wants to overprice their listing because this market, they know this market's hot, there's not a lot on the market. So how is she handling that?
So Alexis is pricing expectations because of the supply and demand issues. How are you navigating the conversation around? I just want to price it crazy high.
Yeah, I don't know what y'all just did with that, but that looks super cool. Like I saw Jeff and the audience.
That's right. We're on the next level here. I'll call in and teach you how to do this.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm like, I want to see that again. Okay, how am I answering on pricing? Okay, write this down. It's all starting with their perspective. You want the signed listing agreement. Y'all, I am selling homes that are like literally 20% overpriced. And I'm like, who in their right mind is going to pay this amount for this house? But it's happening. It doesn't even matter because you just want the listing agreement. So you're going to go through, here's a listing appointment. You get in, you build rapport, you build rapport, you walk the house, and then you sit down, you go, I have 3 goals for my appointment today. I'm going to review your timeline and your motivation and help you agree on what top dollar is for your house. Okay, so you just go in and you're reviewing timeline and motivation because pricing stays last. Second, I'm going to go over my marketing strategy and my unique value proposition. Basically, why should they hire you? So Marcus, this is where I tailor it. because my 80-year-old widow does not need to know about the technology that I do. They typically find more value in me door knocking their neighbors and doing the old school. So I say I'm really great at new school and old school. New school being technology, old school being like knocking doors, talking to your neighbors, open house. But so goal 2 of the listing appointment, right? Marketing strategy, unique value proposition. Our third goal is to decide today whether you choose to hire me and whether I choose to take your listing. Smile, nod your head, yes. Fair enough? Great. So then you go through their timeline, their motivation, you let them talk, hear what makes them tick. You either do like a 60-second or a 5-minute pitch on your marketing and your unique value proposition. You get their buy-in, and then write this down. Outside of agreeing on a price, what would stop us from moving forward together today and partnering in the sale of your house? I'm gonna repeat it. What was outside of agreeing on a price or outside of, determining what top dollar is for your house, what would stop us from moving forward together today? You have to ask that question, right? Because your listing appointment is not to go, you're going to list it, you're going to have done your homework. You know what the house will sell for before you even walk in the house. And so they're going to go, that's where you need to pull the objections out. And sometimes that's timing. And if they haven't told you that they're interviewing other agents, and then they're like, well, we have one more agent. Or, well, depends on what price you think you can sell it for. Then I say, well, here's the deal. I don't make the market. I don't make the market. You don't make the market. So I really want my goal to come in and to be able to educate you so that you guys together with me, we can together determine what top dollar is, right? Because ultimately you choose the price. So I want you to hire me. And this is where the 3 things come into play. If you didn't ask this, you don't know it. So if you didn't ask it right there, right? So then say, so here's really my question that I want you guys to answer for me is, what are the 3 most important things to you in hiring the right agent for the job to sell your house? And you'll smile when you ask that. And if they go, well, it's price, go back to it and go like, okay, well, we're going to review the market analysis and that's your choice, right? So what else is important to you? And it's usually not price that's the most important thing to them, right? It's just not. And so I want you guys to be comfortable and confident in hiring me and that I'm the right agent based on the things that are most important to you, whatever those are that they've said. And I'm telling you this, 99%, I'm sure there's one, but I can't think of it. All of my listing appointments, I get a yes. They're like, nothing, it's great. I'm like, perfect. I'm so excited you guys have chosen to hire me. I'm so ecstatic to get to work with you guys. So let's roll into this. We'll agree on what top dollar is, and then we'll go through next steps on what you can expect from us and how we're going to get your house on the market. Okay, but basically my listing appointment, my selling job is done. I have to get a yes before I go into pricing. So then once you get, and at that point, you go into pricing and I just go through like 4, I bring my laptop and I go through the 4 closest comps, ask them if they're familiar with this house. And then is your house nicer, similar, or not as nice as this? If we're on the market, do you think it would sell? Like, how does it compare? And then we go through that and then we draw a box, right? And we talk in price per square foot in Texas. But if it's just on price, like you draw a box and this is where the market is. So if they want a price high, okay, how high are they? Are you willing to take a listing 5% north of where you think you can sell it? Well, in today's market, I would say yes, all day long. Does that help?
That's so good. So I love that you said you use the language together. You said we'll be working together. I love that. I also like that you're calling out. You're saying other than price, because the majority of the listings we walk into, the first thing I want to ask is what can you sell it for? So outside of price, which we'll discuss, and she's going through the other stuff ahead of that. So that's good. Don't get into the price conversation until you get that yes, you can move to it. It's huge.
Yeah.
We need to
All right,
keep.
you guys have like 11 minutes. What else can I help you with?
She mentioned that she has a class.
She
How can we
does.
find out more
So
about this class?
So the classes will be in the chat and we'll also be posting on the Facebook group. And I would encourage all y'all to get, it's already up there. Oh, it's also on the board here, but so we're gonna push it on the Facebook group. We'll also put it in the chat window. And please do sign up for that. This is like literally a teaser into the detail that you'll get on exactly how she's able to do that kind of business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a MAPS course and it does run 12 weeks. It's $597 for 12 weeks. We just did our first one this Monday. So you're right at the beginning of the class if you guys sign up this week. And you have access, so it's a 1 hour live Zoom. So you get access to all of our videos for 12 weeks for 60 days. We have a workbook with all of the scripts that we go over. So like our LTP Mama, our ultimate pre-list, we go over how to farm a target market, all of this stuff we go in detail on. And you get it all for 60 days after the course ends.
And I'd argue there's not much that's more important than having listings as your number one focus right now. We know how competitive the market is, and if you can focus on anything. She mentioned earlier, we know that a listing generates a buyer in AR average. We also know that she's generating a listing per listing. So I can't think of any better investment than like locking in on listing.
Yeah, Jeff, y'all posted a link. I don't know if it's correct or not, but if you go to like the MAPS coaching, yeah, it is. That's the correct link. Thank you.
I just had a quick question. Are your systems the same no matter what your listing is, or are you more not just in the neighborhoods that you want to continue to farm? If you have a listing that's, I guess, not in an ideal price point, I mean, do you adjust according to where you really want your target business to be?
No, we don't adjust at all. Like the scripts are the same. Because remember the pre-list, all it says is like, hey, by now you've set up an appointment to meet with us. We're really grateful and excited. I'm going to go through like 4 quick things. It's going to save you time and money when you meet with us. And everything is we and us, right? Because you want to grow into if you want to grow into growing a team, like I have a small team. So whether they're meeting with me or my teammate, everything is we and us. And it's the Alexis Weigand Real Estate Group. But no, like we still work $175,000 listings. We just don't put a sign in the yard because we don't want 175 phone calls in one day. And then and even for my $1 million listings that we get lucky enough to list, not one thing changes. I will tell you, our marketing doesn't change either. We use the same photographer and we use the same process. I am not spending $1 more on my luxury listings unless it is land and I feel like I need to have like aerials done. Then I'll teach you a quick, I'm highly focused on profits, right? So the less I can spend on marketing and still be extremely effective, the better. So we have competitors spending like $1,500 on photos. We spend like $169 on everything, like each listing. And so I take a screenshot. One of my virtual assistants takes a screenshot from Google Maps, and then like on Photoshop, or we don't even have Photoshop. So on something we overlay, we highlight over, has to be in Canva maybe, a yellow like highlighter around the property boundary lines. And so that's my way of getting around paying for like $300 aerials is I'm like, and we're going to show you at the very beginning, we're going to show the prospects, an aerial view, and we're going to even highlight your property boundaries so that they can see all this, all the privacy that you have, or that you're on a golf course, so all this extra land. So that's a quick way to save you guys some money. That is also a win for the seller. It's all in how you pitch it.
Any question? So I've got something for you. So sneak attack. You mentioned that life-work balance is really important to you. And I think it's one of the things, especially over last year, things were crazy. You had some special life event stuff that was crazy. Give us some tips on running a high-level business, showing up the level you do show up at, and still being present for your family. And how do you protect that time? Or just give us some tips on that.
I love that question. So I am a huge goal setter, and every year I have like a word of the year. And we spend New Year's Eve doing date night, and my husband like will roll his eyes 100 times over if he was in the room right now because he's like, oh my God, again. But it's so fun. And it helps you get in alignment. So my word of the year was health. And it was, what would it look like and feel like if this was my healthiest year yet? And this is in 2020. So we love to cycle with 3 young kids. We hadn't really done a race in a long time. So we signed up, hence the training ride we were on. It's all my idea. But what I'm going to tell you is when I asked myself, what would it take to have my healthiest year yet? We were social drinkers. Sometimes we'd open up a bottle of wine at home. I mean, how many times did I come home and I was like, oh my God, someone just give me a beer on a cold, on a hot summer day, or like, could we just like not do dinner and go out for like dinner and margaritas? And I read this book. It's called Why We Sleep. And it was, I think it was on Bill Gates' top 10 list of the top 10 books he's read, which he's like a huge reader. So I read through them because I get my news from The Brew. If y'all don't do that, love it. It's the BREW, The Brew. So I go through, I see that book, and it like literally changed my world on sleep. Well, like the biggest thing that interrupts your deep REM sleep is alcohol. So, and I would always, on my second drink, this is TMI, but I would wake up at like 3 a.m. and then I would be exhausted. And it wasn't helping me be the best mom, wife, leader, any of that. So that was kind of a big deal because we live in a very social community. Like everyone gets together and drinks all the time. So for us to go sober, literally with nothing, I said, I'm just gonna cut alcohol for a year. So I did that, thank God, because when I got in my accident, that was a challenge for mindset, right? Thank God I had cut alcohol, because you get really clear with what you put in your body. Food and drink absolutely affects how you feel and how you operate. So I just want to say, I think one of the best decisions I ever made was cutting alcohol. We now have a drink or two when we go out, but I am cut off. I cut myself off. If I am going to have a second drink, I don't do it past 8 o'clock, because that will mess with your sleep. And who likes to wait? We work so hard on the weeks, or during the week. I really want my weekends to be focused on my kids, right? So I don't want to wake up tired and grumpy when I've got 3 soccer games back to back, and that's my family time. So that was the motivation for me, was hey, I want to show up better with more energy for my kids and my husband and myself on the weekends. And that wasn't happening when I let myself have one too many, or I had a drink too late on a Friday night. And that just got really easy because my willpower was spent. I hope some of y'all can relate to that. Anyone? I can't see y'all, but I'm going to trust that someone nodded their head yes. So I would say, this is so basic and fundamental, but I would go back and look at your eating habits and your drinking habits. Also, I'm caffeine in the morning, a cup of coffee was not working for me because I would crash at 10 a.m. And this book, Why We Sleep, talks about caffeine and alcohol and several things, and how important your sleep is. So I have a hot tea in the morning so that I can have my coffee either in the late morning or late afternoon. And when you show up for yourself with the food that you're choosing to eat and not eat, and the same thing with your drink, you have the energy to handle this crazy stressful business that we've all volunteered to be in. Because I think it is a lot crazier than other industries. I don't know, but that's the story I make up in my head. So I would start there. Bedtime is really important for me too. If I, get on my phone, which I still do sometimes, and get caught up and waste an hour, I feel it in the morning. I work out. We have a trainer because I'm still in physical therapy from my accident. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7:30, I'm in the gym. But I think when we do the right things with our health, for me at least, everything else is more manageable. I'm a better person. I'm happier, and I'm just more grateful.
That's amazing. So I hope you guys are picking up on this, but the people that aren't held down by their talent ceiling are the people that are leaning into systems, focus, and process in both the personal life and in the work life. Did you hear she has intentional focus? She has intentional plans that she follows, personal life and professional life. So wrap your mind around it, because I struggle with my personal life. I'll push stuff aside, but that's a great example of how you can take it back. It's cool. All right, I think you're off the hook. Should we give her a round of applause? So let's do her a favor, and if it seems like it'd be valuable to you, which I would suggest that it definitely is, grab that MAPS course, sign up for it. You've got collateral to take with you. It's a deep dive. It lasts for a long time. There's nothing more important you can focus on. But thank you, Alexis. It was really, really, really valuable. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Cool. Thanks for coming, guys.
Coming on to those of you in group coaching, go ahead and